of the relationship between father and daughter. And we chose you because just like Carol O'Connor, you have blue eyes and a fat face. I said, okay, thanks.
Nobody saw this coming at all. When the first whispers started spreading about serious concerns involving Rob Reiner, the whole entertainment world was bracing for the typical polished damage control statement. Everyone expected the usual carefully worded response with safe language and that cold, distant tone about respecting privacy. That's exactly what people thought was going to drop, but what actually went down next absolutely blindsided everyone. Because what Sally Struthers revealed wasn't some rehearsed corporate statement, it wasn't filtered through publicists, and it definitely wasn't some sanitized press release. This was straight raw emotion pouring out in real time, the kind that makes you hit pause because it feels way too intimate to even be watching. This wasn't some former colleague jumping in front of cameras for clout. This was somebody who spent her formative years right alongside Rob, basically growing up together on the set of All in the Family. That connection didn't just vanish when production wrapped, and clearly it never weakened over time. Sally wasn't simply taking a trip down memory lane. She was releasing emotional baggage that had been piling up for months, and what she quietly hinted at completely changed the whole narrative. Everyone thought they had the full picture, but her statements matched up with whispers that had already been making the rounds privately among industry insiders, including concerns that had allegedly reached people in Tom Cruise's inner circle within the past few days. This wasn't presented as definitive proof or direct accusations. It came across as genuine worry about something toxic that might have been going down behind closed doors. And here's what really shook everyone to their core. Sally admitted she kept her mouth shut for a long stretch, not because she didn't give a damn, but because she was desperately trying to preserve Rob's dignity. She made it crystal clear that staying silent wasn't some easy choice. According to her, the decision to finally break that silence came from legitimate fear that keeping quiet would actually cause more damage than speaking up. She specifically brought up worries connected to Rob's son, Nick Reiner, and emphasized these were concerns rooted in care, not legal accusations. When she spoke, her voice wasn't just filled with sadness, it was absolutely tight with frustration and raw emotion. This wasn't grief over some damaged public image. This was straight anger at a situation that felt completely out of anyone's control. Then she dropped the line that made everyone in the room go dead silent. And yeah, this is her exact quote. "We all saw the bruises on his soul, but we were too afraid to ask about the bruises on his arms." That sentence hit like a freight train because it wasn't meant to be taken literally. It was purely emotional. She was describing visible psychological distress, not claiming physical evidence. Sally then brought up a lunch they shared just a few weeks before everything went sideways. She really emphasized this specific moment because it was the absolute last time she saw Rob face to face, and what she described didn't sound anything like the outspoken, fiery director people recognize from his work. She said he seemed physically smaller, emotionally withdrawn, and constantly on edge like something was eating at him. According to her account, he kept obsessively checking his phone over and over, reacting every single time it buzzed like he was bracing himself for catastrophic news. When she finally asked him directly if something was seriously wrong, she said his response absolutely haunted her afterwards. He looked completely exhausted, emotionally drained, and utterly overwhelmed by life. And this is another direct quote that remained exactly as she said it. "I don't know how to stop him, Sal. I love him, but I'm terrified of him." At that moment, Sally thought he was talking about industry pressure, political backlash, or maybe someone powerful manipulating situations behind the scenes. She didn't jump to any darker conclusions. Not until later, conversations started connecting pieces she couldn't ignore anymore. She made it absolutely clear she wasn't throwing around criminal accusations at anyone. What she was describing was fear, deep emotional fear, the kind that slowly eats away at someone from the inside. She said, looking back with hindsight, completely changed how she understood that lunch conversation, especially after hearing similar concerns being echoed by other people who genuinely cared about Rob's mental well-being. And that's exactly where Tom Cruise's name got pulled into this whole conversation. Not as somebody making accusations, not as some whistleblower trying to expose secrets, but as someone who knew Rob intimately for literal decades. Their bond from A Few Good Men wasn't just about working together professionally, it was deeply personal.
Was living in an apartment at the time, and he shows up. I open the door, and there's this bad Zero Mostel comb over.
Cruise has built a solid reputation for picking up on shifts in people's energy, and insiders claim he had quietly expressed serious concern long before any of this went public. Nothing here has been officially confirmed, and no formal accusations have been filed anywhere, But the emotional puzzle pieces Sally dropped painted a disturbing picture of a man under crushing stress, struggling with legitimate fear inside his own family dynamics, and that's precisely what's making people deeply uncomfortable. Not manufactured scandal for clicks and views, but the genuine possibility that clear warning signs were completely missed by everyone around him. This isn't some headline-ready drama with neat conclusions tied up perfectly. It's messy as hell, emotionally devastating, and seriously unsettling. And that's exactly why people are actually stopping to listen. According to multiple sources who claim they were extremely close to what was unfolding behind closed doors, and who only agreed to talk under strict conditions of anonymity, Tom Cruise didn't just catch rumors floating around from a safe distance. He allegedly witnessed something directly that rattled him enough to take immediate action. These sources claim that back in November, Tom organized what could only be described as a quiet intervention, one that was absolutely never meant to become public knowledge. The story goes that Tom showed up at the Reiner residence under the completely normal cover of discussing a potential future project together. Nothing seemed unusual on the surface at all, but what he allegedly walked straight into was anything but normal. According to those insider accounts, the meeting rapidly spiraled into an intensely tense confrontation, and interestingly, not with Rob himself. Sources allege the serious tension was centered squarely on Nick. The situation being described was heated, absolutely chaotic, and emotionally charged to the max. Nick was reportedly screaming at Michelle, aggressively demanding access to a trust fund that had been deliberately restricted because of ongoing battles connected to substance recovery. There's no claim of any physical violence happening here, but the sheer emotional intensity alone was apparently enough to rattle absolutely everyone who was present in that moment. What's being alleged next is what absolutely stunned people the most. Tom Cruise, a man universally known for maintaining calm control and iron discipline, allegedly physically stepped between Nick and Michelle to try de-escalating the explosive situation, not as some dramatic hero moment, but as someone instinctively trying to lower the temperature in the room. That action alone speaks volumes about how genuinely serious the moment felt to everyone there. Later on, according to leaked private conversations that got shared quietly, Tom allegedly told a close associate that Nick's entire demeanor legitimately scared him. He described a stare that felt completely empty, deeply unpredictable, and profoundly unsettling to witness. Again, these are all secondhand accounts circulating privately, not professional diagnoses or formal accusations, but genuine emotional reactions to what he believed he was witnessing in that house. What allegedly followed next, if any of this is actually true, might be the absolute most chilling part of this entire story. Sources claim Tom pulled Rob aside that exact same day and spoke to him directly without any sugarcoating or softening the harsh message. He allegedly told him straight up, "You are not safe in this house. You need to get him out, or you need to get out." That single sentence alone reportedly haunted Rob for a long time after Tom walked out that door. Think about that reality for just a second. One of the most powerful, experienced figures in all of Hollywood, someone who's literally seen every imaginable kind of chaos, felt disturbed enough to directly warn a longtime friend to leave his own home. Not because of gossip floating around, not because of protecting some image, but because of genuine fear for his safety. And this is where the heartbreak gets even deeper.
I could win the Nobel Prize and it would say, "Meathead wins Nobel." We went to a royal premiere of When Harry Met Sally in London, and we were walking up this red carpet to meet Princess Diana, and I got meatheaded a couple of times with a British accent. "Hey, meathead, how's it going, meathead?" You know, it's a Cockney accent. They meatheaded me.
And Rob Reiner hates being meatheaded. It may have been one of the most memorable roles in television history, the kind that most actors would kill for, but the name doesn't have much to do with who he is today.
It's like Dopey to me now. It's like Dopey. I mean, it's so far away from who I am that I find it odd. It's just odd. I mean, and yet I understand.
According to multiple people who were close to Rob, his response was painfully familiar to absolutely anyone who's watched a parent struggle with setting healthy boundaries. Rob didn't lash out defensively. He didn't flat out deny the obvious tension. He defended his child. Sources claim Rob told Tom something along the lines of, "He's sick. We can't abandon him. He just needs one more chance." That wasn't coming from weakness. It was pure love. But love mixed with heavy denial can become seriously dangerous. Sally Struthers unknowingly confirmed this exact same dynamic when she spoke to the public. She became visibly emotional while admitting that Rob's endless pattern of forgiveness might have actually worked against him in the end. She didn't point fingers at anyone else. She blamed herself. She said she genuinely wished she had pushed way harder, spoken much louder, and flat out refused to accept the constant excuses being made. She shared that Rob had slowly started pulling away from absolutely everyone who knew him best. Plans kept getting canceled, phone calls went completely unanswered. Even longtime friends from the All in the Family cast noticed the growing distance becoming impossible to ignore. It wasn't some dramatic sudden shift, it was quiet isolation creeping in slowly. A small tight-knit group of remaining cast members reportedly tried organizing a casual reunion dinner recently, something light and familiar to bring everyone together. Rob declined without giving any real explanation whatsoever. Sally said that rejection hurt way more than she ever expected it would. Then she shared a specific moment that really stuck with people listening. She said she drove past the house about a week ago, not to be intrusive or nosy, at just genuinely checking in on him. It was the middle of a regular afternoon, yet every single blind was completely closed shut. The house didn't feel lived in at all. It felt deliberately sealed off from the outside world. She described it looking less like an actual home and more like some kind of fortress. Heavy, eerily silent, and completely closed off to everyone. She sent Rob a text letting him know she was nearby and thinking of him. Hours dragged by before he finally replied. His message was brutally short and carried serious weight. Not a good time. He's home. That was literally it. No further explanation, no follow-up messages whatsoever. Those words now echo completely differently for everyone who heard them. Not as manufactured drama, but as a genuine warning that something inside that house felt deeply wrong for way too long. He's home. Just two simple words, but they carry an absolutely crushing amount of weight and meaning after absolutely everything Sally Struthers laid out publicly. Those words now sound way less like some casual status update and way more like a desperate warning cry. And what truly stunned people wasn't just the obvious fear, it was the financial desperation buried underneath it all. We always just assume that families at that level of wealth never actually run out of money, that having resources makes serious problems simply disappear into thin air. But Sally completely shattered that comfortable illusion.
I could win the Nobel Prize and it would say, meathead wins Nobel.
She revealed that Rob's finances were quietly falling apart behind the scenes, not because of failed movie projects or terrible investments, but because he was desperately trying to keep a volatile situation from completely exploding. According to Sally's account, Rob had been quietly selling off valuable assets behind everyone's backs, not to fund passion projects he cared about, not to enjoy a comfortable retirement, but specifically to cover mounting debts connected to Nick's spiraling issues. She didn't whip out financial documents or hard numbers. She shared genuine concern from someone who cared. She described Rob as appearing frantic, completely exhausted, and constantly trying to put out fires that nobody else could even see burning. She hinted that the pressure wasn't just emotionally draining. It felt legitimately threatening to him, not in some cinematic Hollywood way, but in that heavy, suffocating, real-world stress that keeps someone wide awake all night long. Rob genuinely believed he was protecting his family by throwing money at problems, desperately trying to keep absolute chaos from knocking down the front door. What absolutely breaks your heart is realizing he didn't understand the real danger might have already been living inside his own walls the entire time. Then Sally brought up a specific incident that still seriously unsettles her to this very day. She was extremely careful with choosing her words. She didn't directly accuse anyone of anything, but the implication hit incredibly hard. About 6 months before everything fell apart, during a regular family gathering, Rob reportedly suffered a serious fall down the stairs at home. The official explanation at the time was dead simple: an accident, just a slip. Rob ended up with a badly broken wrist and clearly visible bruising across his face. The story was accepted at face value, and nobody really pushed back or questioned it. But Sally said when she visited him recovering in the hospital, something just didn't sit right with her gut instinct. She said the pattern of bruising didn't match what you'd typically expect from a straightforward fall. She described it as deeply unsettling, not hard proof of anything, but a feeling she absolutely couldn't shake off. She admitted that in a moment of raw emotional honesty, she asked Rob a very direct question, not accusing him of lying, not shouting or making a scene, just genuinely asking. She said he didn't give her an answer. He looked away from her eyes, and then he just cried, silently. No confirmation of anything, no denial either, just heavy silence filling the space. That painful silence, Sally explained, was somehow louder than any words could have been, especially when it involves the complex dynamics between parents and their children. She talked about the shame that can absolutely trap people in those impossible situations. How do you tell anyone that the child you raised and love might actually be the source of your fear? How do you even begin to admit that reality to yourself? Tom Cruise's perspective on everything reportedly adds yet another heavy layer of heartbreak. According to sources close to him, Tom had genuinely tried to intervene in a completely different way. He allegedly offered to personally cover the entire cost of an intensive, high-security rehabilitation program for Nick. One of those specialized facilities designed specifically for extreme cases, located far away from Hollywood and all its distractions. Sources claim Tom told Rob something like, "Let me take the burden off you," but Nick reportedly flat out refused to go. And Rob, according to those close to him, couldn't bring himself to physically force the issue. Love, crushing guilt, and desperate hope all tangled together into paralysis. Later on, Tom allegedly confided to close friends that watching this entire situation slowly unfold felt like witnessing something absolutely tragic happening in slow motion, that he could clearly see where things were heading, but felt completely powerless to stop it from happening. Those words alone speak absolute volumes about how helpless all the people around Rob genuinely felt. Now, even in these early stages of public discussion, competing narratives are already rapidly forming. Mental health struggles, emotional breakdowns, confusion, and yeah, those conversations absolutely matter and need to happen. But Sally Struthers made it crystal clear she doesn't believe this situation was random or sudden at all. She spoke firmly about patterns of manipulation, about repeating cycles, about specific moments when Nick could suddenly appear calm, genuinely apologetic, and emotionally present just long enough to regain trust from everyone, just long enough to get access to what he wanted. Then, according to her detailed account, the tension would return right back. She described it as relentless psychological exhaustion, a vicious cycle that drained Rob and Michelle completely, piece by piece, over time. Not explosive chaos happening every single day, but constant emotional warfare. Living in a permanent state of tense anticipation, never knowing what version of the situation would walk through the door next. And finally, Sally directly addressed the obvious question. Everyone keeps asking the same thing. Why is it only her speaking publicly? Why right now? Her answer was brutally blunt. Hollywood protects its own until silence becomes absolutely impossible to maintain. People didn't want to openly acknowledge that someone as respected and universally loved as Rob Reiner could actually be living in genuine fear. It completely shattered the comfortable image, and images are literally everything in this town. But enforced silence doesn't erase reality whatsoever. It only delays the inevitable. It absolutely shatters the carefully maintained image completely. And at this point in time, Sally Struthers clearly doesn't seem to care who that brutal honesty makes uncomfortable. She's 77 years old now, she's lost her brother, and she's completely done protecting reputations that never actually protected the people she deeply loved. Sally made it abundantly clear she's not playing industry politics anymore whatsoever. She said she wants real accountability. She openly called out what she described as a long line of enablers surrounding Nick over the years, friends who deliberately looked the other way, people who kept showing up when they absolutely shouldn't have, professionals who, in her strong opinion, he completely failed to intervene when warning signs were flashing everywhere. She didn't claim provable crimes. She claimed widespread negligence, a broken system that kept giving endless chances without any real consequences. She talked about how a famous last name can quietly soften outcomes, how warnings constantly replace actual action, how serious problems get delayed and postponed instead of being stopped. Then Sally shifted the focus to someone who had been quietly carrying the heaviest weight for years, Michelle Singer Reiner. Up until this moment, most of the attention and focus had been squarely on Rob. But Sally said Michelle was the real buffer in that house, the constant mediator, the peacekeeper, the one perpetually stepping in to calm explosive situations before they boiled over completely.
People wonder why I'm still at 77 years old doing so much theater, and it's because, because I'm asked to. I really don't even have to audition. I get offered roles all over the country in different musicals and plays, and they say, well, you know, why is your friend Brenda Vaccaro sitting at home not working? She's a brilliant actress. And I said, because I was lucky enough to be on a groundbreaking national television series. Yeah. And people in North America learned my name. Right. And got used to my face and my voice. And now they're curious. You know, at 77, they're going to come see something, maybe because they love you or like you, but just as much because, wait a minute, is she still alive? Oh, and let's go see what she looks like now. I mean, there's
but then
that
you knock
factor.
their socks off.
Then you knock their socks off.
One of the absolute most chilling things Sally shared was deeply personal. She said Michelle once privately admitted to her that she started sleeping with her bedroom door locked at night. Let that reality really sink in for a moment. Locking your door inside your own home, not to keep out strangers, but from fear you can't even name out loud. Michelle reportedly told Sally directly, "I wake up to the sound of footsteps in the hall and my heart stops." That single sentence alone says absolutely everything you need to know. This wasn't occasional chaos happening once in a while. This was constant anxiety, a house where silence was never actually peaceful. Sally described Rob and Michelle as prisoners in their own home, not trapped by physical walls, but by love, paralyzing fear, and heavy denial. But they had poured absolutely everything they had into trying to hold things together. And by the final days, there was literally nothing left to give. Based on what Sally says detectives later shared with her privately, the final incident wasn't sudden or explosive. It wasn't one dramatic moment that erupted out of nowhere. It unfolded slowly over time like a siege. Over multiple days, tension reportedly kept escalating instead of easing at all. Neighbors allegedly reported hearing raised voices on and off for nearly 2 straight days. Nothing specific enough to immediately call emergency services. Just enough disturbing noise to feel genuinely uneasy. And here's the deeply uncomfortable truth Sally pointed out. In places like Brentwood, people don't rush to call police on famous neighbors. They turn up the TV volume. They mind their own business. They assume someone else will handle it eventually. That social hesitation, that fear of causing a scene, may have allowed the situation to keep escalating completely unchecked. According to information Sally says she was told afterwards, Rob made a phone call that night, but interestingly, not to emergency services. He reportedly contacted a private security company instead, a request for help, not punishment. The call was officially logged in the evening, and a response team was immediately dispatched, but the timing mattered critically, and the delay mattered. By the time professional help actually arrived, the situation had already crossed a line nobody could possibly come back from. Sources claim Tom Cruise was absolutely furious when he learned about the response time. He reportedly questioned why urgency wasn't recognized immediately, but people close to Rob believe he likely minimized the actual danger during that critical call. He didn't say, "We're in immediate danger right now." He likely said something closer to, "My son is having an episode." Because even then, even at the absolute worst moment, Rob didn't want Nick treated like a criminal. He didn't want handcuffs, he didn't want police involvement, he just wanted the situation calmed down peacefully. There's something deeply human and devastating about that parental instinct. The overwhelming need to protect your child, even when protecting yourself, should clearly come first. Sally said Rob never stopped being a father, not for even 1 second. She said Rob didn't fight back, not because he couldn't physically, but because he absolutely wouldn't. According to what Sally was told, Michelle tried to shield herself defensively, but Rob focused entirely on de-escalation until the very end. The image of that moment, a man known for standing up loudly for justice, choosing love over self-defense, is something that stays with you forever. It forces people to confront seriously uncomfortable questions about family, fear, and silence. And now, as Nick sits in custody and legal teams prepare their competing narratives, a storm is rapidly forming. Mental health will be heavily discussed, responsibility will be intensely debated, systems will be questioned. But Sally made one thing painfully clear. This wasn't just a breakdown, it was a buildup, and way too many people saw the warning signs and deliberately looked away. The next battle isn't just going to be fought in a courtroom. It's going to be fought over the estate and the story people are allowed to believe, and Sally Struthers knows exactly what's coming next. Yesterday, she made a public plea that felt urgent and deeply personal. She didn't speak to lawyers or industry insiders. She spoke directly to the public, to regular people watching this unfold in real time. She begged everyone not to let Nick's defense team rewrite history. Sally said she's terrified that Rob and Michelle will be painted as villains, that narratives will suddenly appear claiming they were controlling, manipulative, or emotionally harmful parents. She warned that this strategy shows up again and again in high-profile family cases, where responsibility gets deliberately blurred and the people who can no longer speak get put on trial. Instead, she was brutally blunt. She didn't sugarcoat anything at all. She said Rob's biggest flaw wasn't cruelty, it was softness. He was too forgiving, too patient, too hopeful, and in her words, that was the only thing he ever did wrong. Behind the scenes, sources say Tom Cruise is preparing himself for the real possibility of testifying. If the case moves forward in court, let that reality sink in. One of the most famous people on the entire planet, potentially taking the stand, not against an enemy, but against the child of someone he loved. People close to Tom say he's not doing this out of anger or revenge. He's doing it because he believes the truth needs to be locked into the official record. He wants the timeline made crystal clear. He wants the earlier warnings acknowledged, and he wants it known that help was offered and refused. According to those same sources, Tom believes intent matters, that there were moments of clarity, moments where conscious choices were made, and he doesn't want those moments erased by vague explanations or emotional deflection. That brings us to the most uncomfortable part of this entire story, the part people actively avoid saying out loud. Sally said this didn't start overnight at all. She reminded everyone that we all watched Nick grow up in public. Red carpets, smiling family photos, headlines that screamed "lucky kid." But Sally claims there were warning signs long before adulthood. She said that even as a teenager, Nick made people uneasy. Not loud trouble, quiet trouble. The kind that sits behind the eyes. She told a story from years ago at a rap party that still sticks with her. According to Sally, Nick was found alone in a back room, calmly destroying property, not raging, not crying, just methodically breaking things one by one. When Rob confronted him, Sally said Nick didn't panic or apologize. He smiled. That smile, she said, chilled her to the bone. She claims she pulled Rob aside that night and told him to get serious help immediately. And to be completely fair, they did. Sally acknowledged that. She said Rob and Michelle spared absolutely no expense. Doctors, specialists, treatment programs, everything money could possibly provide. But she added something that hit hard. You can't fix everything with resources. You can't buy empathy. You can't write a check that guarantees emotional accountability. Since Sally's interview aired, the industry reaction has been immediate and extremely telling. People who once posed proudly beside Nick are quietly scrubbing photos from social media. Online connections are disappearing. Invitations are being rewritten. The distancing has begun. But Sally isn't backing away whatsoever. She's standing firm, pointing straight at what she believes people ignored. She said she has nothing left to protect, no career politics, no favors to trade, just the truth as she experienced it. She wants the world to understand that Rob Reiner wasn't just a famous man who died under tragic circumstances. He was someone living under emotional strain inside his own home. And that kind of situation doesn't always fit the stereotypes we expect. We struggle to imagine powerful men as vulnerable. We assume money equals control, that he could have hired security, that he could have forced distance. But Sally said love freezes people. Love delays action. Love makes you believe tomorrow will be different. As for the funeral, sources say it will be intensely private. No spectacle, no public statements. Tom Cruise is reportedly assisting with arrangements behind the scenes, focused on privacy and security. Not to create drama, but to keep it away. Because even now, Sally believes Rob deserves peace, and she's determined that his story won't be rewritten by people who weren't there. Sally Struthers will be speaking again, and this time she says it will be her last public act for Rob. She revealed that she has a letter prepared, one final letter meant only for him. She hasn't shared what's written inside, but she did say it's the conversation they never finished at that lunch 3 weeks before everything unraveled. And that alone says everything. Because there's a lesson buried in all of this that's painful to accept, a lesson most of us don't want to hear. It's about the limits of love. We are raised on movies, many of them directed by Rob himself, that teach us love fixes everything. That if you just stay patient enough, forgiving enough, loyal enough, the story eventually works out. That love conquers all, but real life doesn't follow a script. Real life isn't The Princess Bride. Sometimes love isn't enough to save someone who refuses help, and sometimes, no matter how hard you try, that person pulls everyone around them down too. Sally broke the unspoken code of silence when she spoke out, and by doing that, she shattered the illusion of the perfect Hollywood family. Not for attention, not for headlines, but to give Rob something he never had at the end: honesty. She said Rob didn't die as a legend in those final moments. He wasn't a powerful director or a public figure. He was just a father, scared, exhausted, and heartbroken. And in saying that, she gave him his humanity back. As we wait for the legal process to unfold, as court filings begin to surface and official timelines are examined, one thing keeps echoing: the warnings. Tom Cruise tried to warn him. Sally saw the warning signs. Friends noticed the isolation. The tension didn't appear overnight. It built slowly, day after day. There were so many moments where the path could have changed, so many off-ramps that were missed. At any point, outside help could have been brought in. At any point, stronger boundaries could have been enforced. But love complicates action. And now all that's left is silence. The silence of a house that once echoed with laughter. The silence of a man who still had stories left to tell. And the steady, aching voice of Sally Struthers reminding the world that it didn't have to end this way. This story is still developing. We're watching closely as new court documents are expected. Soon there are unconfirmed reports about potential digital evidence, smart home data, recordings, logs, but nothing official has been introduced yet. We'll separate fact from speculation and keep everyone informed every step of the way. For now, take this story with you, not as entertainment, but as a reminder. Look at the people around you a little closer. Check on the friend who's been withdrawing. Listen when someone's behavior changes, because sometimes the brightest smiles hide the heaviest weight. Rest in peace, Rob. You deserved compassion, safety, and peace, not fear and silence. And if you made it this far, make sure you like this video, share it, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. We will be covering every update as this case unfolds, Also, don't click away just yet. There's another video popping up on your screen right now with even more celebrity drama, hidden truths, and stories the mainstream won't dig into. Tap that next video and I'll see you there.